let's talk a bit about version control and specifically Git and GitHub. So why do we use version control firstly? Any ideas? Do you know what version control is? No, not really.
Is that where it's talking about like the saves that you're committing to GitHub?
Yeah, so the life cycle of software or applications, usually they go through various versions, right? Before general release, you might have a version number that's less than 1, and that first big public release, you might title version 1.0.0 or something like that, yeah? We talked this morning about React, and React hooks being introduced only in version 16.8, yeah? So that's obviously the version number. There have been many iterations of React before that, and well, we can probably even have a look at React. If we go to GitHub, we go on the Facebook GitHub, and I imagine they have got a React repository. There it is, right? So we can actually go ahead and look at the source code for React because they made it open source. How's that for some commits? 11,226 commits. How many you got so far, guys? Not quite that many, right? Getting there, yeah? But obviously there's a lot of contributors to that. They've got 1,305 contributors have contributed to the React bit of software. But somewhere on here, I don't actually know where it is to be honest, but somewhere on here there is the version history. It might even be part of the README. Maybe not, right? But you can see, as Faraj told us this morning, we're now on version 16.9. So even big companies like Facebook will use GitHub to as a solution to version control, yeah? So if something does go wrong in our project, we want to be able to perhaps roll back to a previous version. We want to have some sort of version history in there so that we can keep a record of everything that's been added to our application. You've probably done it, or if not, we'll see it later with your pull requests, where you can see the differences in your files between what was your previous version of your software versus the new version, what got added, what got deleted. And tools like GitHub make that very easy for us. Yeah, so we can look at all these commits, and hopefully they're following some good practice for their commits, right? Generally, I think we tend to have commits in the present tense. So you can see this one says revert profiling features as opposed to reverted. Yeah, rename as opposed to renamed. So just little sort of things like that. Yeah, so we can clearly see who did the work, right? So we can make them accountable if they break anything. And you often see as well that they're not working straight on that master branch. Yeah, if we looked at some pull requests, we can probably see. Yeah. So we've got the Facebook copy. The company are in control of the master branch, yeah? That belongs to the company. The person who's doing the new feature, the bit of work on it, has got their own personal GitHub account, and they've created a new branch called Flight. They were working on whatever this experimental flight infrastructure is. Yes, we've got two separate branches there, and they are requesting that their work be added to the source code for the master project of React. Yeah, that's generally how things would be done in the industry. You don't commit directly to Facebook's code, right? Just in case you've done something wrong. That needs to be authorized and reviewed by many people, and that's the process we're trying to go through here with the QA tasks, where we get pair programming done, we get someone to review a pull request, exactly the same as they do in industry, right? So that's what we're trying to simulate. Who was Git created by? Hey, Linus Torvalds, yeah. So who's he? How else do we know him? How else do you know him?
He's the creator of Linux.
He's the creator of Linux. Yeah, fantastic. So his name is Linus, or Linus or Linus, however you want to pronounce it. Yes. So he's a Finnish guy, right? And I think probably yes, part of his name was incorporated into the name of Linux, right? But very, very clever guy, as you can see. Not only has he built a brand new kernel for an operating system, he also managed to build Git, which is probably the leading version control system out there, I would argue, right? It's the Bible of coding, as Ricardo says. So, what have we done so far with Git in your projects? I'm just going to go back to our... hold on. First, you created a repository, right? So on GitHub, you created a store in the cloud. So are Git and GitHub different things or the same thing?
They're different.
Different. So how are they different?
GitHub is the storage.
Yeah, GitHub is just a storage for Git repos, right? It's the underlying technology is Git, and then GitHub is just the hub for your Git projects. So
GitHub is owned by...
who's GitHub owned by? I don't know. GitHub's owned by GitHub. I'm not sure. Yes, Esteban, do you know who GitHub's owned by? We could probably Google that, right? I'm not too sure myself, to be honest.
Yes, I think Microsoft.
Have they bought it now? So Microsoft have bought it, apparently. I don't know that, but maybe.
26.8 billion.
26.3 billion? Yeah? Is that what you're just looking up now? Woo. Yeah, so it's serious stuff now, right?
It's hold on, I'll make that.
Actually, 7.5 billion.
7.5 billion. Okay, bit different, but
They're trying to get link it.
they're trying to get linked in as well. Yeah. Alright. So, firstly, we created a new repository, didn't we, on GitHub to house our Git projects. Does anyone know how to check whether... Firstly, how would you create a Git folder for a file or a folder that's just stored on your computer? Git init, fantastic, yeah. So if I type that, it should give me a warning if... Oh no, it just reinitializes it, right? If there's already one there. But I already had one, and that's how you create a Git folder locally. You can check that. So this is the folder that we're in. No Git folder there. Why?
Is it hidden?
Yeah, by default it's hidden. .git is the name of the folder. So if I toggle my hidden folders on, can you see there's actually a .git folder there. So any time you use git init on your computer, one of those folders gets created. It gets created for each project that you initialize. Yeah, thank you for the word, Ahmed. So it doesn't create some sort of central repository store, it creates it for each project that you initialize.
I can have, for example, 5 different projects, 5 different
Yeah, if you've got
folders in my desktop, and each of them will have its own Git.
Yeah, if you've got 5 different folders on your desktop and you've initialized all 5 of them, they will all have their own hidden .git folder. Yeah, and that is essentially your local repository as well, right? That's your local store of these files, yeah?
But on my VS Code, I think I initialized it once and always picks that up for every project I create.
I'd have to check that, right, Ahmed? Yeah, shouldn't do. Right, yeah, so we've got a Git folder initialized. So that means we can do these things that we've been doing many times. There's 3 steps, right, to committing and pushing. So what was the first step? We've made some changes, right, in our file. What do we have to do to track these changes? Git commit, is that the first thing? So git add is the first thing. If I'm not sure whether I've got anything to add, if I haven't got this nice little GUI up here that says, hang on, you've got one change, does anyone know the terminal command to check whether we've got any outstanding changes?
Get status.
Git status or get status, yeah, absolutely. So when I type git status, then I get this little output. It says we're on the branch master, and your branch and origin master have diverged. Okay, yeah. I think that's because I reinitialized my Git folder, right? Which I shouldn't have actually done. That's all right. I'm going to have to merge as well then. And we can see that we've got some untracked files. In other words, we've got some outstanding changes. And if I made some hopefully non-breaking change to my app, we should see that we get a second change. And if I run git status again, that change is also listed. It says I've modified this file, count bind, yeah? So git status is a good way to track whether we've got some unsaved changes. So obviously they're saved on your computer, but we haven't backed them up using the git version control system. And it actually suggests down here, no changes are added to this commit, use git add. And that was the first step that Kate suggested, or Kelly suggested, or both of them, right? So if we want to make a commit and keep our project up to date, we use git add. What does the dot do?
This folder.
Say it again, Ahmed.
This folder.
This folder, everything in any subfolders as well, right? So just git add as dot is for anything that you want to add in the current project. If I just wanted to add my count bind.js file, I would have to check my folders and link it to the correct file. So I think it's in source, right? So I'd literally have to type source / count bind.js, and then that should add that individual folder. Can you see it's now moved up to staged changes? And then what's the opposite of adding if you decided you didn't actually want to stage that?
Remove.
Not remove.
Delete.
So what?
Delete?
Delete. I don't want to delete it, I want to keep it there.
Oh, right.
Not subtract either. I think it's unstaged, right? I could be wrong, but don't use it much. Git unstaged is not a command. Okay, right. The most similar is InstaWeb. No, definitely not that then. So people said remove. I didn't think it was remove. No, I don't want to reset the head or anything like that. No. I should just be able to unstage it. I mean, in the GUI, I just click the minus, so there's obviously a command for it, right? See, unstage all changes. That's what I want to do, but via the terminal, what is it then? Okay, it is. It is git reset. Oh, it is unstaged? What? No, I think Curry was probably right, but I'm not rolling back to a previous commit using reset. I'm just resetting the file. Yeah, alright, that makes sense. Where were we? Just get reset head on its own, Kelly, I think, right? Oops. Yep, cool. So to unstage, we use git reset. Head is just our current location in the project, and then the name of the file. Or just use the plus and the minus buttons over here, right? It might be easier for if you've got VS Code, but those are the long-winded terminal ways of doing it. So you should be familiar with these commands. Git add everything. Then after the git add comes what? Commit with a message. Try and use the present tense and be descriptive in your message. So
is there any stage that we figure out?
no, it's git reset head and then the name of the file. Right? That's how we unstaged it. So I can just put add dummy variable to state.
Does head have to be capital letters?
Does what, sorry?
Head. Git reset head.
Head has to be capitals, yep. Alright, so we've added, we've committed. Where are our files backed up at the moment? Have changes been made to this hidden Git folder yet?
You have committed?
If I have committed, which I have committed, then yes.
It's stored on your file in your local repository.
Definitely. How would I check that? Via the command line?
States.
Nope, status just told us whether we have any outstanding changes to commit. And it says I'm up to date, essentially. Nothing to commit, working tree clean. Don't know. So there's another one, git log. And this will list all my commits.
Log.
Git log, yep. We can see the last one there, add dummy variable to state, was committed at that time.
So is it just git log? Something like that?
Simple as that, git log will list all your commits. Yeah? So if you do that on your CodeFlix project, you're going to see 10 to 15 commits wherever you're at, sort of thing. Yeah?
Can you edit the name of past commits?
Can you edit the name of past commits? I don't think so, because it's meant to be a record, a history, a historical thing, yeah? There are usually ways to force yourself around these things, but they're not easy to do on purpose.
So if you, when you were committing, you made a typo, it's staying there.
Yeah, it's staying there, yeah. So try and be very careful with your commit messages so you don't look silly. Alright.
With git log, how far does it go back?
Whole thing as far as I'm aware.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but this is a very young project, so there's hardly anything there.
When you said the whole thing, is it the whole thing before you pushed anything, or is it every change that you made?
Every single commit in the history of your projects.
Mine only shows 3.
Again, I'd have to look at that.
Maybe it's there, it's just it shows 3 and then you go over, okay. Yeah, you can see all of them in the right.
Yep. Now usually this opens a weird little text interface. You see at the bottom I've got this colon symbol,
Yeah.
and you might then try and type something else, and you're actually inside the log file. So I'm just putting these random words inside the log file. See how it goes? Yeah. Cool.
Can't see the letters from here.
You can't, so there's 2 spaces up there at least, so you can definitely see them if you move up. Yeah. I'm sorry that YouTube's not working, but you can move up and have a look if you can't see. I can't zoom much more, otherwise I'll lose other things. But yeah. So at the bottom, we've got this weird little colon symbol. So how do I get out of that? It's opened up.
Just click enter again, or you want to leave completely?
So enter or
No, it's
just
here.
drop down.
When you try
Control C.
Control C might work. No, Control C doesn't work.
Click on the plus sign.
Yeah. So Kate got it right? To exit, we use Q for quit. And now I can see I've got my terminal back. Q for quit.
It's like the Vim.
just like Vim. That's exactly what is opened on my computer. It's opened Vim, and it's displaying that via Vim. So we have to use those sorts of commands. But people can trip up there, right? They can look at the log and then they think they're back out of it, and they're not, and nothing's working, and they don't know why. So just make sure you do :Q to quit out of that log.
What was Vim? What do you
It's just another code editor, another text editor sort of thing. Yeah. So you've got Sublime Text, Visual Studio Code, all these sorts of things. So similar, right? Developer tools to write code.
And that's why Mac is based on Unix. 7.
Yeah.
That's why it's faster.
All right. So how do we get stuff onto GitHub? Git push. Yeah, I expected Ed to say that, but
Push, yeah.
so just git push on its own.
No.
Yeah, if it's not your first time, you should be able to just use git push, but to be very specific, we want to push to a certain location, which is probably not set up yet on mine. Oh, it is. What have we got here? No, that's not right. Codeflix. So that's incorrect, right? So if I've got some incorrect origins set up, not origins, remotes set up, how do I remove them? What is a remote first? Yeah, it's a GitHub or a location in the cloud where I want to back up my Git folder and files. So I can remove it by doing git remote remove, and I'm going to remove both of those. So Heroku's for deployment, and origin is just my GitHub. And that's convention, yeah?
Sorry, what's remote in there?
Remote is anywhere in the cloud that you want to store your Git repository and the folders associated with that, yeah? The hidden GitHub files and the repository. The project, right? It's backing up the project in the cloud, backing it up remotely.
So git remote version shows you your online repository.
Yep, so if I type git remote on its own, it just lists the names. I haven't got any at the moment because I've just removed them. If I type with a -v, it gives me the verbose option of the remotes, which is just extra text.
When you click git remote, now it's not showing, but when it says origin.
Oh, so it doesn't show anything because I've just removed them. So let's add the proper one again, right? So I want to add one for my React hooks so I can back up the files we used this morning. How do I do that? Any ideas? No? So I want to back up these files that are on my local computer to somewhere on GitHub. How do I set up a remote to do that? Nope, not stash. So you've all done it at some stage, right? You ran through these commands on setup so that we could connect your computer with your GitHub repository.
Oh, git remote add origin.
Yeah, we need to add a remote, right? So we use git remote add is the method that we're using to add a remote, and we need to give it a name. Origin is the convention, and then we give it the location, which is the one I've just copied, my repository that I've just created on GitHub. Alright, so it's this step that's setting up the communication between GitHub and your local computer. And you'd either need to enter your username and password to authorize it, or if you've set up your SSH key, which we should have all done, then you don't have to enter the username and password each time.
Wait, the reason we set up the SSD is that means it doesn't require username and password.
Yep.
To give you access. Wait, that explains why I never tried to use it. I was like, what is it's
So this is probably good that we're going over this stuff again, right? I wasn't sure whether to skip this or not, but it's good that we're going over it again and understanding why we've used certain commands.
very important actually.
Yeah. So now if I type git remote on its own, it's going to list origin, right? Because I've just set up an origin. if I type -v, it's going to tell me the details of that remote. There it is. So it's a SSH type of remote with Graham Hewitt as the GitHub username and then React hooks as the repo name. Yeah?
I have a question.
Yep, go on in.
Where it says the origin, you said it's a convention and you've named the origin.
Yeah.
If I name it anything,
Yeah, you could name it absolutely anything you wanted. So where I've put add origin, if you want to claim it, you can put my GitHub, something like that.
now
Alright.
let's check it.
Now let's check it. My GitHub is now there. So I could easily do git push my GitHub.
But you have two though.
Doesn't matter. You can have as many as you want. They can point to the same place or they can point to different places. Obviously it's pointless to have two pointing to the same place, but it doesn't affect anything. Yeah?
Okay, and the master, that doesn't change.
The master doesn't change at the moment until we talk about branches, which I just want to touch on at least today. Yeah? So master is the branch, and that's the default branch that we're using.
But that my GitHub only stays local. Is that name?
Yeah, it's a local variable now stored.
It's not a folder.
Not a folder, no. So I've now pushed to my remote. So if I refresh it, we can see that now I've got all my commit history that I had before, plus the latest commit where we added the dummy variable to a certain file. Yeah? How do you add someone else to your project on GitHub? How do you add them as a collaborator? Yeah. So we got these ability to work with other people, right? Under settings, we got collaborators. Hopefully that's that one, right? Cool. And then you can search by someone's GitHub username. So I remember Ahmed's because it's easy to remember, right? So I could easily add you as a collaborator on that, and then he will get an email invitation, stuff like that.
What can I see then?
So you will get an email invitation, and then as soon as you accept that invitation, then you have full access
So that branch or that just repo?
to the repo. Yeah,
Just the repo.
Just-
That
just-
repository
just-
or to the branch?
the branch is part of the repository.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So the repository is the whole thing that contains all of your
does he have
files.
different privileges that you?
Yeah, so you can set the privileges if you want to control the person's access. Yeah. So the branch at the moment, I've only got one branch, right? And we spoke about when we looked at Facebook that they had numerous branches there, both on contributors, repositories and accounts, and also Facebook themselves would probably have numerous branches. I didn't check, but probably they will.
The two so
113,
flag
yeah.
and master. Sorry, Jack.
And 113 branches, basically.
Did they? Yeah, so they had a lot, right? Two good resources to learn more about Git anyway before I forget are the official book. Alright, so there's the official documentation, and you can download ProGit, this book as well. And Git Atlassian is also a very good online tutorial source. So I will share those later. I think I've already shared them with one of you at least. Question?
So Git and GitHub is the same thing?
Nope. So we said what? Someone remind Kieran?
GitHub is storage and Git is actually places and
Yeah, so Git's a bit of software that enables us to track the history of our projects, and GitHub is just where we store a copy of those projects.
remember some years ago there was Google Code. Was that an alternative to GitHub or not exactly?
I can't remember exactly what the function was of Google Code. I don't think it was a version control platform. I think it was just a way of sharing code.
So before GitHub,
Yeah.
GitHub came like a good time after GitHub.
Yeah.
Where was Git stored the actual?
Yeah, how people would collaborate.
So you can still store things on your machine, right? And what were where were they storing them? Don't know. I didn't use version control before GitHub, to be honest. But
They used to be version control to Bitbucket, which can be still.
did Bitbucket come before? There was Subversion. I know there's things like
Yeah,
Subversion.
it's very nice to use.
When was Bitbucket really?
Yes.
I'm sure it's still around.
So that was launched in 2008. Bitbucket.
On GitHub as well.
Oh,
Yeah, so I think that was 2008 as well. Then about Subversion, I don't know if that come before or after. 2000 was Subversion, right? So that was a bit earlier, Apache Subversion.
There's another web page that I don't know if it's for the same use, but I have downloaded things from there. That's SourceForge.
SourceForge, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Version control. So you can download whole apps really, can't you, from there rather than it cataloguing the version. Not sure whether that would be classed as version control. Let's see. Web-based surface that offers control and manage. Yeah, be related, right? But yeah, I'm not entirely sure what services they offer, to be honest. Yeah, I haven't really used it.
who uses SourceForge?
What was the first question? Who uses it?
That's the second one.
Oh, second one.
Who uses SourceForge?
Anyway, a couple of sources there that I'll share with you. If you wanted to clone something, let's have a look at Ricardo's projects. See if he's got anything interesting, right? I don't know if there's anything on full screen, Mario. I don't think there is. What do you want to search for? Let's just search for React resources or something, right? If you want to learn more about React, don't want it in there. All of GitHub. I know, should we do the top one, shall we? A to Z resources for students, see what someone else has put here. So let's say we want a copy of all these resources. How would we do it? How would we copy someone else's repository?
It's on the right side, clone or download.
Yep, so see this big green button here. Maybe you can't if you're Sonia and Cathy, right? So if you click there, we get the option to clone it. And we can clone it two ways, SSH or HTTPS. So if you've got SSH set up, let's use SSH. Copy that little link, choose where you want to put it. So, whoops, I didn't mean to open that one. So for the ease of things, I will just go to my desktop and type the command git clone, and then no, I don't want to pull. I just want to clone a copy of their stuff, right? We can cover git pull in a second if you're unclear what that does, but for now I just want to copy this project onto my computer. The way I do that is via git clone. Yeah. So git clone, copy your link, hit enter. That does its stuff. It's done already. Then I can open that in, what was it called again? Oh, we had a really long name. Cloning into A to Z resources for students. Just copy that. open it in Visual Code just by typing the name of the folder after code, and we now have a copy of all of his files that were stored on GitHub, right? So you can do that with any project that is publicly available on GitHub, and you then have a complete working copy of their files. If they have some sort of dependencies in there, where do they list dependencies on this one? Not sure. But let's say it was a Node project, how would I install dependencies? Is it just a heavy lunch, or am I boring you, or what's going on, or you don't know the answers?
I don't know the answer.
Don't know the answers. Okay, cool. NPM what? Not start, that runs the server. So to install dependencies,
NPM upgrade.
no, to install dependencies, we run npm install. Yeah? So if it was a Node project, that would install all of our dependencies that were listed in our package.json, right? So it would go to this file, package.json, look inside of here, have they got any dependencies listed? Yes. So therefore npm install would make sure all of those things were installed and that we could run the project.
Those dependencies, is it for us, we can run the clone that we just made?
Yeah, so you don't back up certain things to GitHub, right? You wouldn't back up any secure data like private keys, passwords to databases, any of those things. Well, hopefully you wouldn't. It does happen, but hopefully you wouldn't. You also do not, in fact I haven't even got it here, right? So this is quite a good thing. You don't even back up your Node modules. Why?
Because it's widely available.
It's too large. One, it's widely available, it's a good point, but it's too large essentially, right? It might be hundreds or thousands of megabytes of data inside your Node modules, but your source code files are usually kilobytes. Yeah, they're very, very small. So you store the small source files, and then you just provide a list of the big files that you need to install before the project could work. Alright, I mean that's essentially it, right? You just need to run git clone, and then you have a working copy of it on your machine. Make sure.
When you did clone and the replace, git clone replace, it created a folder automatically by itself, or you created a folder?
Nope, so the command git clone creates the folder automatically for us. If I go to my desktop, we now see that there's a folder called A2Z-resources, blah blah blah, all that, right? And that corresponds to the name of the repo that this person had. Yeah? So it gets the repo name, creates a folder of the same name, and sticks all the files inside of it. Okay. The only other thing I want to cover, unless you've got requests, is branching and pull requests.
Yes.
Yeah? So, I'm just going to do it on my one account for now, but bear in mind that in real life it's going to be more similar to the Facebook example, right? You're going to have a company's GitHub account, your personal GitHub account. You're going to do a pull request from your personal account to the team or to the company's GitHub account, that way around, right? I'm just going to do it from me to simplify the process for now. Okay, so
Wait, I have more question.
I'm sure you do, Ahmed. What is it?
Now with clones, if I wanted to run just like the same way that we run our projects,
Yeah.
npm start, right?
Well, it depends on the project. If it's a Node project, sure, do npm start and it's got a React script like that. But if it's a different programming language, that's not necessarily going to work. I didn't clone a React project or anything like that, so npm start won't work in that case. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, let's try and find what file I was on. It was that one, I think. check my remotes again.
But always I have to download the dependencies npm install, regardless of whether it's a node or
No, if it's a Node project and it has a package.json, then npm install is going to work, right?
and if it doesn't have JSON, it won't work npm install.
For lots of other projects, it wouldn't work, yeah. If they're using Python, they're using a different package manager, then it's not going to work, right?
But I have to find that different package dependencies.
Yeah, within each project there will be a file that lists the dependencies, and there will be a command to install those dependencies. But npm is linked to Node, right? Node package manager. Yeah, if it's different language used, it will be a different install command. Got it? Yeah? Yeah, fine. Alright, so we have, let's make a change, yeah? Let's make a quick change again. So earlier we had, let's just uncomment that. Will be enough of a change. So rather than using my little login component, I'm going to use this counter component instead. So that's registered my change over here. So I could use what 3 commands very quickly to make my commit. First one, git add, fantastic. I'm just going to use a dot for simplicity. Next one, git commit, fantastic.
With your message.
With the message, inside the message I could just put, I don't know, counter hook, e.g. reactivated or something like that, right? That's committed locally on my computer.
Difference? Because you use the, how do you call that, the line?
The hyphen, yeah.
Hyphen N and hyphen AM.
Hyphen AM will do the add and the message all in one go.
Ah,
Yeah?
that's what I thought.
So you might want to use that instead. And then how do I get it on GitHub? Push where?
Origin.
Yeah, I've got an origin set up, so I can just do origin master, yeah? Cool. That's essentially not what I meant to do, right? Because I was rushing it. So, how do I remove that commit?
Git remote remove.
Not remote remove. Git reset. Head, and then you're doing the symbol, are you, Ed? Yeah. Doing the little caret symbol. Yeah, so I want to go back one commit. I don't know if it's got a space or not. I think it doesn't have a space, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so I've now unstaged my changes after the reset. Alright, so I've now rolled back my changes if you like.
Now you delete your commit, yeah?
So I can check that, right? So if I go on my log, is my last commit there?
Come back.
Okay.
It's not there, right? I've pulled it back.
So you delete the latest commit?
Yep. By using git reset head and then the caret symbol just means go one commit back.
Locally or
Hmm?
only locally or
Only one commit then. Oh, no.
in local computer or in
Online.
remote?
Good point. So if I check that remotely, oh yeah, we did push, didn't we? So, what was it called? Yeah. Oops. No, so obviously it hasn't reverted it yet on GitHub, but then if I reverted the changes and did another commit, then that would get overwritten, right? So I'll show you now. If I, alright, anyway, but it's gone to branching. Branching is what I wanted to do. So if before making these changes, I want to create a new branch so that they have to get authorized first before becoming part of the main project. I can create a new branch. I know, I'll just call it class state or something like that, right? Rather than using a hook, I'll use class. So my branch now has a name of class state. So this means effectively I've got two projects, or two versions that are sitting in parallel, right? And GitHub calls them branches. So they're at the same point in time at this moment. If I make some changes on one branch, so I can move across to a different branch by using the checkout command.
Which branch are you in right now?
Alright, how do I check which branch I'm on?
This branch.
Get branch on its own. I'm on master.
And now you want it to move to.
And if I want to move to class state, I type get checkout class state. So I'm now on that new branch.
And let's check again.
Let's check again, because he doesn't trust me.
No, I do. Yeah, the star moved.
The star moved and it now highlighted green whatever one you're on. So, if I now make some changes, if I commit these changes again, and maybe let's just do another small change at the top so we can see the difference. So that's the branch version, right? And we'll have to go through the same process again, right? Stage. Don't write commits like messages like this, but for the demo this is fine. And then now, where do we want to push?
To origin?
Definitely to origin, but is it master?
No.
No, it's not master. We want to push to a new branch called class state. So when we do that, whoa, that was quick, yeah, but it just popped up here, right? That we've created a new branch, class state, less than a minute ago, and it gives us the option to create a pull request. Yeah, so it's already detected that we have now got not one branch but two branches. We can see them by clicking on this button here. We've got master and we've got class state. The last commit on the master was our counter hook reactivated thing. Our last commit on our class state was branch version, right? So you can see how these two paths now, these two branches, have diverged and they have different histories and different code present in them. If I go to app.js on my branch example, I've got this message, this is the branch version. And if I go to just my master copy, it will not have that code in it, right? So there's some differences there along our branches. So this is what we typically use to create a new experimental feature. We create a new branch, do the work, do a pull request, and see whether some other developers agree with our work and they think it is okay to be incorporated into the main project. You will practice this a lot in your team apps. Okay, you will do this process again and again. It's a complicated process. I just wanted to introduce it today, but you'll get lots of practice at it, and we will go through it again in week 4 probably. Yeah, just on branching and merging and pull requests.
I think I've created a
don't worry for now, Ahmed. So if we want to actually create a pull request, we've got our green pull request button, or we could go to the tab up here that says pull requests and click on that instead. Either or. And then the important bit is these two boxes here. See where the arrow is pointing? For some reason it's pointing from right to left. Don't ask me why they did it that way. I guess there's a reason, but I haven't worked it out yet. So we're comparing our branch, our class state branch, and we want to merge that into our master branch. It says I can't automatically merge, so I imagine there's some sort of conflict I've created when I was messing around with these files. But we can still create that pull request. So leave a little description to someone, please review my code. I think this would be a great new feature for the app, something like that. Then click create your pull request. And then anyone who visits Graham Hewitt React Hooks should be able to see that there's an outstanding pull request. So if you went on your computers now, you could see that. So usually you would assign someone to review that. Usually not yourself, right? You don't approve your own pull requests. Otherwise there's no point in doing a pull request. So I would have to search for someone. First you must, why could I not find Ricardo? So first you must add a collaborator, right? Only collaborators can review your code. Yeah, so I'd have to add a collaborator as we discussed earlier in the settings, and then I can assign them to review that code. They would then be able to go in and see this sort of thing with what has changed in the application. So where it's red and it has some minus symbols, that means that bit has been deleted. Where it's green with the plus symbol, that bit has been added. Yeah, so when you're doing your pull request on task 13, this is the sort of stuff you're going to be looking at. And then you have the opportunity to, of course you can clone their code and run it on your machine and see if it works. That's obviously a good thing to do before approving it. But you can review the changes and you can either comment, approve, or request further changes if you think it still needs some improvement in some way. Yeah, so let's assume it was, maybe I can't even approve my own pull request, right? But if someone approved it, then we could finally, after we'd resolved any conflicts, but do not resolve conflicts on GitHub. If you have any conflicts in your pull request, get someone to do that on their machine locally, and then they must resubmit the pull request or commit again, yeah, to get those conflicts solved. It's really faffy to do it on GitHub and it's not a good practice. So make sure that you don't accept any pull requests that have conflicts. Tell them to fix the conflicts first on their machine and recommit. Yeah, again, you'll have lots of practice on this in your team apps come week 4. It's early days yet. Yeah. Basically, that's the process, and after that has been approved, that will then get merged into the master branch, and that's, I guess, a complete cycle of a new feature into an existing project. And that's what happens time and time again in industry, and I'm sure you will do it thousands of times throughout your careers. You'll do it for the first time week 4, if you haven't done it already. Any general Git questions, Git commands? No? So I'll share those 2 links. Yeah, so you've got the online tutorials and you've got the book, which will of course go over a lot of these things that we've just touched on today.
Yeah, what will the video be uploaded?
So I need to upload both of them now, right? And then I'll have to change the YouTube key again, and then everything should just get streamed live again from next week. Alright. As you can see, you've got all the setup detailed in here in the book. Got it available as a PDF. Git branching, right? A whole chapter on Git branching. guess there's pull requests in there somewhere as well, but I don't exactly know where. Alright.
Does most companies use this?
Yeah, a lot of companies will use GitHub. Yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty much all of our graduates have gone on to a company that uses GitHub. I can't think of one that hasn't in this case.
That's how you want
Very
to
important.
Very
Yes,
important.
when
Yeah.
it's on Git, then you go to ship out.
Say what, Jack? If they don't use
If
it,
you're going to a company that's not using Git, then you're not going to a very good company.
yeah, probably, right? If they're not using Git and they're not using a very similar service, then that raises a few alarm bells straight away, right? Yeah, we just save it on our hard drive, right? And that hard drive sits over there in the corner, and that's the only backup. You know, there's nothing in the cloud, there's nothing on Git. Our whole company's just on that little bit of machinery in the corner. It's a little bit worrying.
What if Git breaks down?
What if Git breaks down? Well, let's hope they've got a lot of redundancy built into their servers, and they've got multiple backups and stuff like that.
Backups and everything. Data stores, data centers.
Exactly, they got data centers and backups of the backups and databases of the databases
And all that for free. They give it for free.
and all that for free. Yeah. So,
Nothing is ever free.
well, alright, yeah. Maybe they
There's a
scrape your code or something. But
They pay for